Hey everybody, how's it going? On today's video, we are going to be talking about a new audiobook that I got into by a very familiar author for those that are in the lit RPG progression fantasy space. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this new audiobook. This audiobook is Operation Bounce House. This is done by Matt Dinneman, narrated by Travis Baldry and Jeff Hayes. The length of this audiobook is 10 hours and 48 minutes. Good bit of time for that. And I just really enjoyed this audiobook and really wanted to share it with everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and get a little of the summary, some of my pros, some of the things that I really liked about it. And then I'll leave the rest to you to go check in the description of this video. I will have a link to this audiobook on Audible, so you can go ahead and get a summary from the author and also get a little bit of a sample from, like Audible does a little sample, so you can actually hear a little bit of the story from the narrator. Mainly, it's going to be Travis Baldry, but there's a little bit of Jeff Hayes sprinkled in there. So let's go ahead and get into it. So, quick summary, Nick's summary, is that we find our main character Oliver dealing with some personal problems. And within dealing with those personal problems, him and his robot companion Roger are just doing some normal farm tasks. So he's a farmer on this land, and he's actually on this new cultivated, new outsourced to where people go and expand the human population to another planet. And this planet is called New Sonora. And while he's doing his, dealing with his drama in his life, and then just getting back to the day-to-day work that he needs to do to make sure that he can create a prosperous world. And he's mainly the kind of the generation that's really heading off to that, because there was some issues of people dying off from a disease that you'll learn more about throughout the book. And while him and Roger are doing the daily tasks, they're going to go find this drone that was destroyed. All of a sudden, this weaponized mech comes into view, and Roger, the AI robot, is telling Oliver to get down and move, and if this happens, do this. And the whole time, Oliver's freaking out and wondering what the heck is going on. And a whole bunch of things happen. Roger's dismantling this mechanized, war robot that's trying to, as far as we know at the time, Oliver's just trying to figure out what's going on, and no one really knows what's happening until Roger dismantles and gets more information about what's going on and why this mechanized robot is here with all of these weapons that are so intense, and you're just kind of like, what the heck is going on? And then we get a little bit more information, and we find out that this Operation Bounce House is in full effect. Other people know about it, they've heard about it, but our main character Oliver has kind of been a little more like, that's not going to happen, more head in the ground and, keep to yourself type deal. There's more than enough to make New Sonora a great place to live. And so that's kind of where we leave off, to where we're dealing with this whole situation of this evil corporation called Apex Industries, and how they're attacking New Sonora and doing some manipulations, some lying about what's going on in New Sonora. And now Oliver and everyone around him, his community, are getting together on his farm to protect themselves, because it seems like there's a little bit more to his AI robot Roger than is led to believe. But he's got to go by his family rules. There's 10 of them, and it's just a very great and interesting book. And I want to go ahead and tell you a little bit more about like what I personally enjoyed about this book. So again, that was my little summary. You can go definitely into the link in the description and get a better summary from the author themselves. And also, like I said before, listen to the sample that Audible provides. So the things that I really loved about this audiobook is, first, the pacing of the story. The pacing was just like boom, boom, boom. You didn't really have things to dwell on, and the story kept moving. So I really enjoyed that. And there would be another point kind of explaining, why I just, again, love the pacing so much. But the pacing for this audiobook was really good, and I just really enjoyed that. Next is the dark humor. If you don't know anything about Matt Dinniman's writing, there is some dark humor in there. So you got to be someone that really enjoys that. Not like too much, but just enough to where like you just laugh, and it's just there's just something about it that's just kind of hits you in the right way. And if you have listened or read Dungeon Crawler Carl or any of other Matt Dinniman's writings, that you'll know that it's a little darker, a little more like, oh my gosh, what's happening and why is this funny? And oh geez, just what's going on with my mind right now? But again, if you like that sort of thing, you'll enjoy this one. Next is, I really enjoyed the underdog survival. Like, this is a whole industry that is coming to attack this planet that is undermanned and outgunned. And so it's very much like, oh my gosh, I will hope that they can survive. And there's just these interweaving parts of the story where it's just like, oh, they're fighting back. They're giving it back to this, evil corporation that's attacking them for no reason, or just like basically evil gain and money and greed. And they're just sticking it back to them for attacking them without cause. And it gets really good in the story. So yeah, the underdog of this all is just great. Next is like I was saying with the underdog survivability and all that, is the twists in the story. There's things you start finding out, not only that are, what the evil industry is doing to this new colonized world, is that there's other things that have happened that people have tried to figure out, and some things that are sprinkled through the story that all of a sudden start getting explanations, and you're just kind of like, oh snap, like this is really great stuff. And if you like an engaging story that keeps like you interested, and you're not just kind of like just listening, all right, let's just keep going, or you're just reading and you're like, I'm just going along with it and it's nothing great, but this definitely has things to keep you interested and kind of like spice up your interest and just to dive right back into it. So yeah, a lot of twists in the stories that get like just very interesting, and I would highly recommend people to get just into this novel. And so next is that I want to point out is the immersive experience combined with the story, combined with the narrators, and that is just a combination to where you're just sucked in, and that every time you're like taking a pause, from your story and from your listening, from your reading, you're just kind of like, whoa, this is like, you're really in there and you're really just paying attention to everything that's going on, because sometimes it just feels like you have to pay attention to the story. So it's very immersive, and it's very just like, I don't know, I could just say immersive was my experience with this novel, and especially the audiobook, that I just got really hooked onto. So next is something that I just want to go ahead and point out, that this is not Dungeon Crawler Carl. So if you know, again, anything about Matt Dinniman, he is very popular at the time of this recording, and probably will be popular for a long time for his Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And if you're looking for something that's going to be something similar to that, this is not it. This is a book that stands on its own, and that it has its own interesting points about it, and it has a little sprinkled of some things that are Dungeon Crawler Carl related, and that you can see and notice throughout as the novel and audiobook goes on. But it's a book that just stands on its own. It's the only thing that is similar, I should say, with Dungeon Crawler Carl on this is it has the same writer, and Jeff Hayes is also narrating a little bit, not too much. It's mainly Travis Baldry that's narrating, but there's a little bit of that too. So again, this is not Dungeon Crawler Carl, and this is definitely a book that stands on its own. Next is, I think this is going to be a single book story, so I was very pleased with the beginning and the end of the book. It was all resolved. I don't think that's really much of a spoiler. I think just there was something that came up in the story and it got resolved at the end of the story, and there was a little bit of like the aftermath. So I don't think that's really a spoiler at all. I just think this is it's different from having like a 6 or 10 or some series go on to like 15. if you're someone that even remotely is into the Wandering End series, there's like, at the time of this recording, I think 18 or 19 audiobooks right now, and there's way more written, and it's just insane. It was just a nice kind of like breath of fresh air when this, I feel like, was just a single book story. I don't think there's going to be any more to this story, but I just loved the resolution and how it just kind of like nipped it all off, and you could kind of move on to something else and not really expect something more out of this. Now, there might be more. I might be totally wrong, but as of right now, I just really enjoyed what I assumed is going to be a one in, one out story. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Next is, I guess this is just more of like something to be aware of, is this is a very like, it's not like, it's a lot of violence, but I feel like this is like an 18 up book, and also not even just like, this is for obviously adults. If you've read or listened to any of Matt Dinniman's stuff, that this isn't something that kids should not be listening to. I know he talked about at a convention once that he met a kid that actually read like up to, I think it was like 4 books at the time. And it was very like, oh, you shouldn't be listening to that right now. But it is what it is. But this is definitely another one of those books that this is just for adults, and also if you're in a good mental space, because at the time of this recording, there's a lot going on right now in real life. So maybe this isn't the greatest book to get into if you're more sensitive to that. That's just something that I think should be put out there at the time of this recording, in my opinion, that if you're not in a good mental space, that maybe this isn't one of the books that you should be reading, and you should be reading something a little more lighter. Hey, Travis Baldree has Legends and Lattes. That's a nice cozy fantasy that you could get yourself into. A little plug in there from the narrator, from me to the narrator, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, definitely for adults only and people that are a good mental health space. So yeah. Next is the narration. The narration was just phenomenal. Like I said, one of the things that really got me immersed in this story is the narrating was done really well. It was mainly Travis Baldree. Jeff Hayes was sprinkled in there. I think he actually maybe had one or two. I think it was one or two. Very few parts in this audiobook that still did a great job. Everyone that was there did amazing, and can't say too much. If you know anything about Travis Baldree or Jeff Hayes' narration career, they are pretty two bang-up narrators that do a fantastic job. So not much to say there, but that it's just great. Let's see. And that's pretty much it of the things that I want to point out. I hope as you watch this video that you're maybe interested in Operation Bounce House, and that you'll go into the link in the description and check it out. And maybe I get you into a new book series, or at least a new book that you could really enjoy. And maybe you know nothing about Matt Dinniman, and I'm just like, gonna explode an entire world onto you, where like first you get maybe into this book, and then you discover Dungeon Crawl Carl. So yeah, it's good stuff. At the time of this recording, I'm currently reading, or I just finished a book called The Ether Smith. And I'll put that in the link in the description of this video as well. And it was a bang-up book. If you like crafting and crafting and fighting stories where there's a combination of both, it was a great story. And I always love a good crafting story that has mixed with some fighting, and how crafting is like the main point of power within the story. I really enjoy that. So yeah. What are you currently listening to right now? Listening to or reading? Because I would love to hear that or read that in the comments below about what you're currently getting into. Because that's, I've actually gotten to a couple of audiobooks or just books in general because people have commented below and just told me what they really enjoyed and maybe I should check out. So that's just something that I just love to get in with the community and hear what you're all reading or listening to. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's what I got for Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. I hope you all really enjoyed this video, and hopefully I got you into something new, or I saved you some time into an audiobook, or just wherever you audio or reading, and maybe save you some time and some money in that regards, because maybe this isn't the book for you. So yeah. without further ado, I'm going to let you go and I'm going to get back to some new books and some audiobooks. I'm going to actually, at the time of this recording, since I finished Ethersmith, I think I'm going to get into some Mark and the Fool Book 10 because that just released recently and I'm just super excited about that. So yeah, so without further ado, I'll let you all go and see you next time. Toodles!